pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks for coming tonight. You don't have anybody electronically, right?
Noel is going to be.
Noel is maybe gonna.
I should
join.
Yep. Glad you said that. Heather, did you add a
I'll go ahead and move.
So, good evening, everyone. As Cindy said, I'm Heather Hitt. I think mostly everyone knows me. I would like to start tonight's meeting with this presentation, and following we'll take time for questions and comments. So tonight's hearing is to discuss the levy. The board will be taking action on tonight. So there are three main categories that we have to talk about, and we have to talk about the payable 2023 levy and the fiscal year 2023 budget, and then allow time for public comment.
Nope, you're good.
We'll start with some background information on the school's budget and timeline. And levy timeline. Our fiscal year runs July to June, so we are nearly halfway through our fiscal year 23. The board approved its FY23 budget last June, and they will approve the revisions to that budget next June. The board set the preliminary levy in September, and the final levy will be certified tonight. This slide shows the timeline and the levy budget process. Currently, we're finishing up the 21-22 audit, which was approved at the last November board meeting. And we're operating in the 22-23 fiscal year. The board will be approving the final levy tonight for the 2023 taxes paid to fund the 2023 school year, so next school year. So how does your levy become taxes? The legislature sets the tax policy and education funding support. So they establish the formulas with the components being the tax capacity rates, the property class rates, and the exclusions. And they also set as we all know, the LTFM formulas and the per pupil formula. That's a big deal during the summer that we're all watching. MDE, or Minnesota Department of Education, calculates the levy limit for all the school districts in the state. This includes it's based on enrollment, the property taxes, leases, referendums, And this determines our September proposed levy, which we certify at maximum. And then the school board approves the final levy tonight. The levy is then certified by the county auditor. The auditor calculates the taxes. The levy is allocated to each parcel based on value and classification. County auditor determines values and classifications. The county treasurer collects them in 2023 and distributes them to the various jurisdictions. So this is the total levy split by net tax capacity and referendum market value. As you can see, the net tax capacity is spread on all parcels, and the referendum market value, RMV, is spread on homestead and commercial properties. So this is the one I like to point out where we passed the capital project levy a year ago in November. And so one of the main reasons the board decided to take that route and do the capital project levy is because it's spread on net tax capacity. So it's spread on all parcels instead of only the homestead and commercial properties. So it really helped out our residential families.
Heather, I had a question. With the values going so sky high this year, what's that gonna do to us? How much more are they gonna bring in because of the values?
It actually helped us with our net tax capacity with the capital project levy.
Is that total right there, or is,
Yeah, but when you look at only our capital projects levy, because it's based on a formula that includes the valuations, we automatically get an increase in that. So instead of our 900,000 capital projects levy, it's actually 949,000 this year. So the district is kind of a winner in that situation. And this graph just shows the net tax capacity and the referendum market value split in the graph form. So it used to be, before the capital project levies, it was more of a 50-50 split, and now it's, as you can see, much more on the net tax capacity side of things. When people receive their proposed tax statements, they see a compilation of all the taxing jurisdictions, school, township, city, and county. We cannot answer any questions pertaining to those other jurisdictions tonight. We are also unable to address any questions pertaining to the property values or classifications. If your question pertains to one of these, please contact your county, city, or township. This graph shows the Aiken levy compared to similar sized districts. We just like to include this one because it just kind of gives you an idea of, other districts. We're kind of in the ballpark now on the lower end after the capital projects levy was passed, but there are still, quite a few districts that are quite a bit higher than we are.
So I think we used to be the lowest, right? So
Right.
now we've just inched a little bit above peers, it looks like.
Yeah. This slide was created by Ellers. It shows the funding trails inflation by 1,263 per pupil since 2003. So it's basically is just showing that, our increases that we've received have not kept up with inflation. We just thought that was a good one to include because, as we all know, we're struggling a bit with our finances. When looking at the school's budget, revenues and expenditures are separated by fund. The funds on the bottom of this slide represent funds that aren't supported by the levy. So those funds include Fund 218, which is custodial or scholarships, and then 45 other post-employment benefit fund. So when you look at this, the school funds, the general fund includes Fund 3 and 5. So it's 1, 3, and 5 are all in the general fund. Fund 4 is community service, and Fund 7 is debt service. With that background, we're gonna take a look at the 2023 budget, and this slide shows the budgeted 2023 revenues by fund. So as you can see, I don't know how good you can see that, but yellow, the funds 1, 3, and 5 make up the general fund. So that's the general transportation and capital projects levy. So as far as the state concerned, it's all one fund, but as far as how we track it and we report it district-wide, locally, we like to track those funds separately. So then the total revenues, total budgeted revenues for FY23 are $16,120,880. So these are the revenue sources, a breakdown for FY23. So if you look at the top here, that's the adopted revenues that we just looked at in the previous slide. And here is the pay 22 total levy. So this is the levy that we're looking at moving forward, and it's 17% in comparison to our whole budget. So really it's not, you know, the state funds is the big portion of our budget.
Capital projects levy is in all other budgeted revenue, correct?
Yes. Mhm. Sources are just under 66%. Local sources, including levy, are 19%, and the remaining funds are federal and other sources. So as you can see, a majority of it obviously is the state funds, and then the local funds is over here, the 19%, and that includes the levy. Now we'll move on to expenditures. Again, you'll see expenditures broken down by fund, and they total $16,721,012. If you were to compare this year's budget to expenditures by fund to last year's budget, you would see a few items of note. Fund 5 is increased and Fund 1 decreased, which is because of the capital projects levy. We shifted some expenditures from Fund 1 to Fund 5, so it's kind of just a flip-flop or a shift. And then Fund 6 shows 0 because those funds were spent with the completion of the high school renovation. And again, you can see the Funds 1, 3, and 5 in the expenditure side of things. Here's a breakdown of where the money is spent. So 12 million or 74.58% is spent on wages and benefits. So that's obviously a majority of our budget is spent there. And the other areas are purchase services, supplies and materials, capital expenditures, debt service, and other expenditures.
Is it pretty similar at other districts that you've been?
Yep, it is. That's very common. When the board and we talk about making cuts, it's, you know, you can try to nickel and dime it with supplies and materials, but the big expenditures and where all the money is spent is within salaries and benefits. So that's very common.
And that's really kind of normal when you gotta, we're not here to make money.
No,
So your expenditures are gonna be mostly like that.
it's a
That
public
came from, it was
service.
even higher.
Yeah, exactly.
As I see it, Heather, am I reading it correctly, a $600,000 shortfall?
Yep, and we'll see that in a slide that summarizes it in total, coming up. This graph shows expenditures by area, as the previous slide showed, just in the graphical formula. So the salaries and wages are the orange and the blue. The salaries and wages is the orange and the employee benefits is the blue. So in total, that's, you know, almost 75% of our budget expenditures. So this is the summary of the budget that was approved in June 2022 for FY23. So on the left is the FY23 approved budget. We have the revenues in the second column, the expenditures in the third column, and then the deficit or surplus in the third column or fourth column. So as Jeremy said, it shows a deficit spending of 600,000. Now, a lot of that deficit is, or some of that deficit is, it comes out of restricted funds, that there's funds built up and just kind of sitting there, and we have to spend them in those areas. They can't be spent on just anything. So that brings us to the unreserved or unrestricted, and that's what we look at every year, kind of as our savings account that we want to keep. Our policy is 25%. So not all of that is coming from that 25% or that unrestricted or unreserved budget. That's, just wanted to note that. And then on the right, it shows the summary. So the general fund, funds 1, 3, and 5, makes up almost that whole deficit of 600,000. And then there's the Fund 45, the other post-employment benefits is a negative, and that one we want a negative because that's there and we want to spend that down. Eventually it'll be gone and we'll be done with that. And then the self-sustaining funds are on the bottom right. That's Fund 2, food service, Fund 4, community service, Fund 7, debt service, and 18, scholarships. And those are self-sustaining, so they're running at a positive balance overall. With that, we'll take any questions that anyone has.
What scholarships again? Explain that. That went down, but minus.
So that's funds that are basically in a trust, and that we're the custodian of those funds, and so we divvy them out as the agreement that we have with those groups or entities
As I
is
thought.
with, according to how they want to give the money out with the scholarships to graduating seniors.
We're just holding it.
Yep.
So that deficit, is that kind of a rolling deficit, like from fiscal year to fiscal year?
Yeah, we approve the budget every year in June for the next fiscal year, and our goal would be to not be deficit spending.
Sure.
Luckily, we have the ESSER funds right now that are helping us get by and not make cuts at this point in time. But
That amount is what, ESSER funds?
ESSER funds, we're spending right now about, I would say 400,000.
So that number is realistically, when they go away, is $1 million?
That's correct. Yep.
On that one slide, so was it 75% was wages and benefits? Is that the number?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
75,
Yeah.
54, I think it was.
And the last slide, I think it showed 810,000 roughly on it. Fund 1? Oh yeah, there it is. General fund, yeah, Fund 1.
Yeah, general
There it
fund.
is.
And so in transportation there, like this year, some years we've been break even or negative deficit spending transportation, where this year we're, to the good.
Do those new buses come out of that then?
We have a couple options when it comes to funding the buses. We could use the transportation funds, or we can use the capital projects levy. So it's just kind of whether or not,
Yeah, right. Whatever looks better.
which we want to use. If we can, ideally we could keep our general funds at the level that we need it to be and spend the capital projects levy.
Mr. Haskamp?
How much money is left in the ESSER from the COVID fund?
So we have plans to, the biggest pot of money, we have several different pots of money, but the biggest pot of money the numbers that I gave to Jeremy would be, we have about 500,000 or 400,000 that we're spending this year, and then we'll spend that next year, and then they'll be gone after that. There are other pots of money that are much smaller that will end about that same time. It depends on which funds they are. Some end a little earlier, but some, some of the pots of money are as little as $2,000 and are spent or will be spent this year.
So for fiscal 25, they'd be gone. 24, you'll have them, 25, they're gone.
Correct. Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Appreciate that information. Okay, we're just gonna roll into our regular business meeting, even though it's just a few minutes short of that 6:30 time frame. Are there any other comments from the community regarding the truth in taxation?
It was like 85, 90%.
Is there a motion to approve the 2022 payable 2023 levy certification?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Hauser, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hoag. Any discussion?
It's getting ridiculous.
Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with all members voting yes. And we did have Mr.
Mr. Bailey
Bailey
was here.
live here.
There he is. Noel, did you vote in favor of? Mike's not on.
You voted in favor of? Okay, motion passes
Can you
with
release that from your computer so I can put Noel up there?
6 members voting yes.
Can I do it?
Your computer's logged into the projector, and I can't bring Noel up until,
Oh, you can bring it up.
yep.
Are there any comments from visitors regarding our regular board meeting agenda?
I would like to jump into the.
Any comments from visitors? No one wishes to speak? Okay. Mr. Stifter?
Give me just a second. I'm gonna get Mr. Bailey on the big screen. I hope. And no, did not. Bobby, can I use your, get some assistance? I do this wrong every stinking time. Did it?
It's coming with bells on.
Yeah. What do
Tell
I
if he's
gotta-
moving that way.
gotta have it.
He can't hide.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, I put the code in.
There it is.
Oh,
She's got a bump.
Yeah, don't run away too far.
yeah, I know what you just did to me.
Who's the man behind the curtain, right?
I got you.
Okay, put it away. Oh, there he is.
Oh. He's jumping.
Now he's there.
Great and powerful. Who's on silent?
Yeah, I'm gonna see it. This shouldn't be this hard, should it?
Try being in court with exhibits. Jurors.
Mr. Bailey, can you hear us? Noel, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but it's not real loud.
Okay,
Good.
I'll try to speak loud.
You're Noel now.
Okay, I can hear you.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. Since we have a retired board member here, who told me he isn't gonna stay around for the whole meeting, I would like to present, and I don't know why, but as everybody's aware, we have two board members who are stepping off or stepped aside, and I'd like to acknowledge them with a plaque. I'll start out here. Dennis Askamp this summer stepped aside. Dennis had 25 plus years of dedicated service to the Aiken School Board and the community, Aiken District. Dennis, I'd like to have you come up and receive a plaque. I have plaques for Kevin Hogue. Kevin's been on the board for 16 years. Kevin, you can't throw it away. You know you told me you would. Jeremy Jansen had 8 years. Mr. Bailey, who's on virtually, had 4 years. And then Cindy's got tape on her plaque. Cindy Hills, for 8 years as well. So if I could, why don't we come around here and we'll get you all up, get a picture. And everybody have a nice big smile.
Heather, do you want to take the picture on my phone?
Jeremy.
Court.
Oh, yeah. Behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're on my phone.
Yeah.
Sorry. Jeez. We've got Noel in the background.
Yeah. That's great.
All right.
Noel right over,
Yeah, Noel right over the shoulder.
That's perfect, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'll get your hand later. Thanks, Dennis.
Good to see you. Take care. Yeah.
Thank you all.
Again, I do appreciate everybody's time and dedication to the board. Has not, I mean, we've been moving forward, and much to the thanks of the board members who are here helping us make it happen. So, thank you. Dennis, thanks for your long term.
Would anyone like to say anything? Anything like that? I was trying to think back over the years of all the different things that we've worked on, all the committee meetings, and it's just so much stuff, right?
Right.
Yeah.
A lot more extra work than it was way back then.
Well, I certainly have appreciated my time and have enjoyed working with all of you, and I think we are leaving the board in very good hands. We're very excited for the new board members that are going to be starting. So thank you to everyone for all of your many, many, many years of hard work and dedication. And thank you very much for these plaques. They're beautiful. I know that they were made right inside this building, right? And so we really appreciate that too.
So, yeah.
Very nice, thank you.
Yes, Jason Ostrike and Jason Roos. I think the kids worked on getting the plaque part, but preparing it was Jason and Jason doing that. So, yeah, it's very nice we do them right in-house, and very well deserving. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, scheduled presentations. Do we have anyone here from Student Council to give an update?
We're supposed to.
Ms. Crowett, maybe?
Right. Put notes on my phone. Yeah, so I am the middle school student council advisor. So we got started in October, and I have 15 kids in student council, which is actually one of the bigger groups we've had. But we had some really great applicants and stuff like that, and so I was like, yep, we're gonna just have a big group this year, and it's been fun corralling all of them. They have some great ideas. Sometimes we gotta focus. November, we kicked off our first event. The week before Thanksgiving, the kids at 3-day week, they had a table out during lunches, and we had a few different things going on. We had trivia questions, so we gathered some trivia from the different teachers of theirs, for the middle school teachers, about their favorite Thanksgiving food or fall activity. So it's kind of fun for kids to kind of guess things about their teachers. And so when kids put their answer in the bucket, it put them in a drawing for a prize, kind of little treat bag at the end of the week. We had a little jar of Skittles. Guess how many Skittles are in there? I think the person who won was only like 4 off. They were pretty close, actually. And then something that was really neat, first time doing this, is we wrapped the wall, the post right outside the high school office, and had a big gobbler wall of gratitude. And so during lunches, kids could fill out little cards of I'm grateful for, and posted it up on kind of that big post right there, kind of nice and visible. So that was kind of cool to see.
That was really cool. It was fun to read
So yeah, so if
those.
anyone was in the building during that time. So that was November. The kids had a lot of fun doing that. And then December, so this week we have some dress up days. So this week got different dress up days. 7th and 8th grade homerooms, we have a door decorating competition. Kind of because of the weather last week, the kids didn't really have, the judging is tomorrow, we'll just say that. So it kind of got, unfortunately, shrunk a little bit, but hopefully the kids still have fun. And then I'm bringing my student council members over to Rippleside on Wednesday. We got in touch with some of the kindergarten teachers over there. So our kids are gonna split up between a few of the rooms, read a couple books, sing a couple songs. And so they're pretty pumped about going and doing that. Got a couple that are nervous. I'm like, guys, they're kindergartners. They're just excited to see how the big kids come over, you know? So that's kind of what we have done just the past couple months. And then we have a spring dance kind of in the works. I think I just got a date kind of set, because that's always something they're looking into. And the first thing that they want to start planning is the dances. But yeah, so we have some other things that I think we're looking into, and I'm really excited because they have some really good ideas too. So that's what we've done.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sammy.
Next is old business. We are looking at the following policies as a second reading. Policy 419, 420, 421, and 423. As typical, we have a regular rotation and a cycle that the policy committee goes through. First reading would have been provided previously. Second reading is now for us to vote on. So do you want individual votes or motions?
No, I think we can approve I think we can approve them all together. So we
Okay.
approve 419, 420, 421, 423.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Motion by Ms. Hauser, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hoag, any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor of approving policies 419, 420, 421, and 423 signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries with 6 members voting yes. New business, approve the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Jansen, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Leidinger. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried with 6 members voting yes. We're cruising along here.
We're on to
9B.
9B. Yep.
Okay, discussion items, board member pay.
We had at our special meeting last week, we talked about the board member pay. Heather did a little research, was asked when it last went up. I shared with the board, but last time it was raised was in 2013. And at that time it was 185, and the board chose to raise it to 220, which it currently sits at this point. It's really up to the board if we want to raise or increase that. I also shared with the board or Heather and I shared with the board last week some comparables, which saw we're kind of in the ballpark with other, maybe on the low end with some other districts. And you know, we talked about caution of comparing too much to other districts, but I felt that gave us an idea. So it's really up to the board if we want to do anything with that. Our options are we could raise it, determine how much we want to raise it. We could just table it, or we can make a recommendation moving forward. I think the idea was with the number of board members stepping off, or not, not coming back, might be a time to adjust it and for the new board coming in, so it's one less thing they have to address.
So it's been 10 years since it's been
Yep.
adjusted. In looking at kind of the comparison districts based on student size and other criteria, just sort of a snapshot in time. Just didn't know if the board was interested in increasing that, leaving it the same, that sort of thing. So, Mr. Hope?
I've been on here a long time. There's a lot more meetings, a lot more time involved. And if I can, I know two of them get more anyway. The clerk, 3 of the board members get more, is the clerk, treasurer, and the chair?
Chair and treasurer.
Chair and treasurer.
Okay. I wanna make motion $30 straight across the board, wherever it is now, $30 up. That's if it's chair gets more, I'm fine with it. A lot more time involved.
So your motion is to increase the monthly
Everything, $30.
amount by $30
Yep.
per month?
Yep.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Hauser. Discussion? Any discussion?
I'm just gonna say, we've never had, I shouldn't say never, but we never had meetings every Monday. Now we got work sessions every Monday almost. That's 3 extra meetings right there alone, without any gas or anything, so I think by far, we still are on the short end, but.
Yeah, I think that's true, definitely, right, and the last number of years, we have been doing a lot more work sessions. I think this year, we actually calendared them ahead of time. And then if we didn't have something, we canceled them. I would say the committee meetings have probably remained the same. There may be some extra committee meetings. I know that part of the board payment also includes reimbursement for like out of district meetings or specific attendance for things. I understand from the business manager and from the district office that board members, while they can elect to receive those, rarely do, if ever, right? And so that was another topic that we kind of took a look at when we were looking at, kind of across the region. It's just all over the board. Some school districts have an annual amount, some have a monthly amount, some have extra stipends for different things, and it ranges from high to low. I would say that we're definitely in the ballpark, and even with that $30 increase, it's in the ballpark. I know that everyone sitting at this table is very financially conscious about making any sort of financial decisions, which is why I think we wanted to take a look at it, because it's been 10 years since it's done. And quite frankly, I don't know of any new board members where people are going to be coming on and the first thing that they do in January is vote to increase the pay. And so there were just a couple of factors on why we were looking at that. So with that being said, is there any other discussion or thoughts?
Cindy? So the extra pay right now for any out-of-district meetings is $10 an hour. Minimum wage is $10.59. So we should increase that to something higher than $10, just to have our policy match the federal law.
Okay, so that is a thought. I think, I don't know if that was originally set at tying it to the minimum wage amount. I would think that as a stipend, that is different and still could remain that amount. I'm not aware of anything that would tie that to that unless there was board action previously.
Heather, did you say it was a policy?
It's in the policy, it's per hour, and that's below minimum wage, so Minnesota minimum wage, so we have to increase it to at least minimum wage.
Okay, it
It's
is per hour. Okay, I'm sorry, I thought it was just per meeting, so, okay. So if there was,
I'll add a friendly amendment to make it minimum, what's minimum wage in?
$10.59.
And what is it now we're getting paid?
10.
10?
For an out-of-district meeting.
Oh, district meeting.
Yeah.
So, so in order to have a amendment to the motion, the second would need to agree with it as well for discussion. And so then to clarify that motion, is it to set it to a certain dollar amount or to just tie it to whatever would be the minimum wage?
I think you could set it for something, because the minimum wage is gonna change again. You're behind the eight ball again anyway.
It would be something that would be reviewed each year. It's typically done in January, so.
$12 on a, can I just say $12, or were we anybody in favor of $12 extra on hourly? That way it keeps away from the minimum wage.
Nobody ever claims it anyway, so.
Yeah, you're right. And that's probably not.
Do you want to do it as two separate motions?
I'll do it as, well, yeah, I'll do it.
It would be
as
cleaner
one or
to do
two,
it as
that's
Maybe
what
we
I'm
should do it
saying.
as two separate.
Yeah, I think it
Two
probably
separate?
would be clean, so.
Let's do the first one then.
Okay, so the motion and the second is to increase the monthly board member pay by $30 per month
For each position.
for each of the positions. And there was a second by Ms. Hauser, and you maintain that second. Any other discussion?
I'm just going back discussion-wise, being a new board member, the optics of voting for a pay increase, I don't like the idea of it. So,
I'll be abstaining, to be honest with you, because I have to continue on this board, and I only seconded it so we could have discussion.
yeah,
Okay.
from a discussion purpose. So that's all I wanted to get out there.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I will vote aye as well. Ms. Hauser, you're abstaining.
I'm gonna abstain.
Mr. Leidinger, you voting nay or abstaining?
Nay.
Okay, so 4 yes, 1 abstain, 1 no, motion carries. Okay,
Now we can come back and address, if we're gonna set the meeting chart or meeting rate to minimum wage, that would change automatically? Or do we wanna set a dollar amount and come back and address it once minimum wage catches up?
I think it is easier to tie it to the minimum wage, because then it will just fluctuate when the minimum wage changes. And then we don't have to keep going back to check it.
Ms. Hip, do you know if the other places do that, or do you know what the customary practice is?
A lot of them have a per meeting charge, I saw in these notes.
Yeah, some do per meeting for all their meetings. This one is $15 an hour. One's $40 a meeting.
It's just so hard to compare, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's all over the board.
it is.
Yeah,
Is it cleaner for budgeting purposes, we set a dollar amount? I mean, it's not, well, there's not a lot of them, not a lot, very seldom is it claimed, but.
It's easy to budget right now because nobody turns for them. So just do that. It's on the reward, I guess.
okay. Does anyone wish to make a motion?
Still make it $12.
Motion by Mr. Hoag to set the hourly out-of-district meeting rate for board members at, from $10 to $12 per hour, is that correct?
Yep.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Jansen, any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
I'm gonna I'm going to abstain.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, and I will vote yes. So 4 members voting yes, 1 member abstaining, 1 member voting no. Motion carries.
And I don't know if I should thank or apologize to the board members for not claiming your, claiming that ever, so. You know, one of the first, I think it was the negotiations, I was gonna put in, and the board members on at that time said, no, I don't, don't submit it, I don't want it, so I've kind of gone with that, so.
And that could be something that any future board just
Right.
votes to abolish
Yeah.
that as well. I don't think any of us are doing it for pay.
Not the enrichment?
No, the
Okay.
reality of it is that when I was elected, I was completely shocked
remember you saying
to
that.
learn that we were paid.
The $200 a month, yeah.
So,
Okay, next is superintendent evaluation summary. You want me to go ahead with that?
Yep, go ahead.
The board did conduct a superintendent evaluation. All of the members were invited to fill out a form that was provided by the School Board Association, as well as to offer any sort of comments. That was, each question was based on up to a 5-point, with 5 points being the highest for that question. I then summarized all of the comments and all of the scoring into a summary sheet. I did present that with the board in our closed session last week. Prior to that, I did go over all of everyone's comments and information with Mr. Stifter. And the final summary that I can report is that he scored just a titch under an average of 4 out of 5. So from the board's perspective, you are definitely performing at a high level, and we appreciate that. As far as the specific details, that would all be private data. That would be for Mr. Stifter. So we won't be providing any sort of a summary. If any of the board members who participated in that wish to have any future conversations with me or with Mr. Stifter, we can certainly arrange to have that done. So thank you for everyone who submitted their comments and their scoring. Thank you, Mr. Stifter, for the work that you're doing. I think there was a lot of nice recognition and comments. I think there were other things that you are going to be looking at implementing and working on, and I think also you will be identifying and updating the goals, and I think that's one of the main things that will happen with the new board as that gets started underway. So thank you again, we appreciate that. I think there were also many comments from board members that thanked Ms. Hip as well for your help and the work that you do as a team with the budget and here at the board meetings. And so thank you to both of you.
And thank you.
You bet. You bet. Thank you.
Thanks to the board for taking the time to provide that feedback, and yeah, there's always things to be working on, and we'll keep moving forward, but thank you. I'm glad to be here. It's where I want to be, so.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next is to approve combined polling places for the special election. So I will let you talk about that.
Yep, so we'll have a special election in April to fill the temporary board position that Brian has been appointed to by the board. Journey North is where we use Journey North with our capital projects levy. When we combine a number of polling places there, it really worked well. They're willing to have us back and let us use their facility again. So for a special election in April, I'm asking that we combine polling places to Journey North Church for that election. So you need a motion and approval for that.
Where was the other one at again?
Where was what?
You had Journey North, is it?
Yep, bring them all into Journey North for that special election.
Why are we not using the public library?
We weren't sure there's enough space. When we with the capital projects levy, when we brought the number of precincts in, well, now we're gonna invite, we're bringing them all in, because we did use
everywhere.
3 different spots. There's a cost, every position we set up, we gotta have election judges, and there's more of a cost to it. That's kind of why we're trying to bring it down to one location, so.
What's the, I'll make a motion to approve it and then we'll
Okay.
have a question.
Motion to approve by Mr. Jansen. Is there a second?
Second.
Whatever.
Second by Mr. Bailey. Any discussion?
When does that, when do the candidates have to put in by for that special election?
If it's 90 days before.
I haven't got that far yet.
Yeah.
In January, we will be calling for the election at that point, and then we'll start rolling forward with the new.
Because the election day is April 11th.
Yeah.
So it'll be right after the first year. We'll be putting out, looking for people want to be considered in the, or sign up for the.
So they would have to be in by middle of February if you come back that 90 days?
Might be,
Oh, you've been,
Probably middle of January.
middle of January, yeah. So I mean,
Yep,
anybody that wants to run probably should know that.
right. Yeah, we'll get that out.
That filings will be soon and
Yeah.
that election
I think
will
they're
be in
open 2
April.
weeks, right?
Brian, so remember to put yours in.
Yep.
Put in if I want to.
There's a number of you could put your name in. Got 4 of you could put your name in.
Go on, man.
Well, I'll take the money, you just run and.
Yeah.
I'll stash in your deer stand.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries with 6 members voting yes. Administrative reports, board member reports. I can give an update that Mr. Stifter and I attended the Paul Bunyan Co-op meeting in November. Brought the minutes with me. It was on Wednesday, November 23rd. I would recommend any of the new board members who are interested in signing up for this committee meeting. It's with the Paul Bunyan Co-op, and so how many schools are a part of that?
5. It's Brainerd, Pillager, Pequot Lakes, Pine River, 6, count us, Crosby and Aiken.
Okay,
There's 5
and so
other
then
districts.
this particular committee has one, the superintendent from each of those schools plus 1 board member
Yep.
that meets, and then they go over all of the special education programming and services and staff, all of
Yep.
that sort of thing. So mostly what we went through was just kind of the legislative platform, which those organizations are working on and talking about. They just kind of went over what the responsibilities are of the Paul Bunyan Co-op, how the structure works. The Brainerd School District, I think, is actually kind of
Is the
the
host.
charter
Yep.
hosting member, and so all of the employees for the Paul Bunyan Co-op have the same contracts and
they're on a
benefits that
Brainerd
follow,
contract,
that
yep.
sort of thing. We also talked about just the different special education services that are happening in all of those districts, the number and types of staff that they have. And so it was really just kind of an overview of them. There wasn't really any new business or anything that we had voted on. So did you have anything else?
No, and it was just a good update and kind of where we're at within, been some staffing adjustments and things, just like everywhere else. No, just really, it's a regular meeting just to catch everybody up and where we're going next.
It's nice that we're a part of that group because there's a lot of high-level professionals that we, quite frankly, as a district would not be able to employ, and we wouldn't be able to have them full-time. And so it's nice that they can offer those services to all of those schools, so, yeah.
And one thing, and Cindy had left, I think, or was me, at the end of the meeting, I had a compliment from Jennifer Johnson, who's the executive director of the, regarding our program we're running in the elementary with our high needs level, kind of level 4 autism kids. It's something that Andy's worked with the co-op and Chesna Sigford's the teacher in there with a couple of paras, and it's become a program that others are looking at, just to address those needs. So, it was good to get that feedback and have her say that it's working well, and the co-op's really proud of what we're doing there. So
One thing that we kind of talked about just briefly, and Mr. Dock and Ms. DeMars, if she's here, could think about too is doing some sort of coordinated effort for orientation for new paras and new employees. And so we kind of talked about that. The district is, each district is kind of doing their own, but some of them are starting to kind of get together, and if that makes sense. So that might be an opportunity to reach out to the Paul Bunyan Co-op, and they said that they would certainly be willing to explore that some more. So that's a takeaway. Okay, any other board member reports?
I don't have a report, but I would like to say thank you to those of you who have served on this board. I'll be one of the ones that's left behind.
To help provide leadership and to move forward, so.
You think?
Yeah, you will.
So thank you for all of your contributions. Some of you have been here for a long time, and some just a short time. So, but the district has needed the leadership that you've provided, and And it's good to have the different perspectives around the table. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, committee reports, Finance and Facilities Committee meeting.
We met, we really talked about some of the needs around the district. You know, we mentioned a little bit I shared with the Finance Facilities Committee, the report that we had seen from ICS and talked about some of the challenges and concerns there. Heather, am I missing anything? Being Knowles on there, I can't make my notes big enough on my computer, on my phone to see if I'm missing anything.
Did
But
they give us a list yet? IPS?
not an updated one of that. But I think that's pretty much what we covered in the Finance and Facilities meeting.
Okay. Agricultural Committee meeting.
So I can give that, do you have your notes?
I'll pull them up, I'll get to them here.
Yeah, Paul was without internet and electricity for a lot of days. Anyway, we had a good meeting. Overall, Rocco's got a lot of great energy, bringing us to the egg area, and he's working on his certifications, and that sounds like that's on schedule and going well. And they're focusing on working on a variety of some unique projects, both mechanical, repairing mechanical things, and he's trying to get maybe a greater variety of types of work for the students to work on, which sounded really interesting.
I'm hearing really great feedback, both from students and staff and family members about him and the program, so that's good.
Yeah, there's a lot of positives down there right now. Yeah, it was a good meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, very good meeting. We'll be working on a number of grant proposals. There's a lot of grant money out there, and he's going to be working with DNR Forestry on some forestry curriculum.
Nice. Okay, good, thank you. Wellness Committee meeting.
Heather's kind of heading this up with a committee of staff. We met with Hannah Colby with the county, and we just talked through a variety of things with we can do for staff and community and district wellness. You know, we're looking at some grants that would bring in this. It goes with this and Finance and Facilities. Some grants with Egg to School that would help us update and bring in maybe a salad bar option, getting some of the equipment needed so that it's not so labor intensive. So that's one of the things that we've talked about, which would give not only that'd cover a lot of bases on things we're trying to do, but it would also students. It's one of the things students have been asking for too is the salad bar option. So
It wasn't too long ago that there was that option, you know, what, 10 years maybe?
Yeah, I don't know if it was even that long ago.
Yeah, I
There's
think it's even been sooner.
There's been
Yeah, I
some rule changes, and you know we have to update our equipment to get back to it. So yeah, you know, you look down by the entry down by Terry's door, you know, the old salad bar counter and stuff is there, and it got to the point to where, you know, it was a guessing game, and they ended up throwing so much out based on the equipment we had. You know, it's hard to preserve or whatever, and we'll still have some of that. You know, if you put out a lettuce salad in the open, you know, whatever's not taken, my understanding is it has to get dumped at the end of the day. But they do have a sub salad option. They pre-make it though, you know, so kids aren't able to go through a salad bar, which isn't as enticing to kids apparently. But that's one of the things we're looking at. And if, you know, the equipment be from like commercial food processors, for lack of better knowledge on that, and Terry and Sam both are interested in working with that. So that was kind of where we're at. We talked about having, you know, schools will have like fruit tables or fruit, you know, so we have to serve fruit, and if kids aren't eating it, oftentimes it gets thrown away. So if a kid has an apple, isn't going to eat it, they toss it in the garbage. Or look at getting a little refrigerator, and that's part of the grant. Or and I don't know, we need to wait for the grant to come through, but and having a refrigerator, kids can put their apple in there, and then somebody later on in the day come by, you know, grab an apple or an orange or whatever. Other schools have done similar things, and just so it's not going to waste, you know. So it's pretty
Hannah's a great partner, and so is public health. And I think that the counselors have implemented like a take-home option also,
Yeah.
right? So that might be another good use of
Right.
some of those foods.
I wonder about engaging with Riverwood. We're talking about giving our students, students and staff, opportunities to eat healthier.
Yep.
And when people eat healthier, they're just healthier all the way around. So I wonder if there might be some possibilities to work with Riverwood.
With
too.
Riverwood and
Yeah.
public health, that's a good idea.
I think Hannah's kind of our link back to public health through the county, but yeah.
I think so. She's a dietitian.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've worked with her on projects, and she does a nice job.
Yeah, she's very helpful. She sends tons of resources. Jen Burgos has said that she wants to be on the committee as well.
Oh,
so
good.
She'll probably
Yep.
be a good resource, maybe with Riverwood as well.
Sure.
Yeah, good, thank you. Okay, principals report, Mr. Dawkin.
Oh yeah, just a couple things, kind of some fun things we got going on. Grand Friend Bingo tomorrow at the Legion from 1 to 2:30. If any board members want to come join. First grade making gingerbread olives tomorrow. Mrs. Tetrick's class is coming over. I guess that her class wrote stories for the first graders, so they're heading over tomorrow to read them to the first graders. Fourth grade today played cribbage with Grand Friends and other community members that came in. And then Mr. Smith for student council updates. Our service members started receiving their cards, so he started to get some pictures of our service members with their cards. We have a door decorating contest going on right now throughout Rippleside. 3 winning classrooms are going to get a gift card to Paul Beck's to help with Christmas parties. There's gonna be an article in the paper as well about student council, what we've done, and then what they're gonna be doing moving forward. So look for that this week or next week in the paper.
Thank you. All right, and for the high school?
7th and 8th grade had their concert on December 5th, and it was so cute. It was just so very nice. Kelly Blake does such a nice job. The 9-12 concert choir is rescheduled for tomorrow night at 7:30. We have e-learning.
Wednesday night.
What?
Reschedule for Wednesday night.
Oh yeah, we're only on Monday. Sorry,
Yeah.
Wednesday. Thank you, Dan.
December 21st.
Yep.
For the 21st Wednesday. We had e-learning. That went well so far. I talked to some of the kids. I met with them over homeroom lunchtime, and they were talking about that it was just the right amount. They still got to do a little bit of fun, but they were creative and kind of blending in the snow in what they had to do. Melt it, measure it, different things, make snowmen for music class. So it was good. Garrett Tetrick said that he's received lots of support from businesses in giving him ideas on how to make the Fab Lab work better and create partnerships with them. So he's super excited. Jason Roos has done a fabulous job, working really hard, helping Garrett learn all the devices, how things connect, how to use everything. So he's taken a lot of hours out of his time to help with that. 9th grade students in English are going over to Andy's building, like he said, tomorrow. Jason May said that there is a record number of kids coming out for Knowledge Bowl this year. He said he's never seen it in all the years that he's been here. They're gonna have 18.
Wow.
He said the most they've ever had is 6. So he's very excited about that. There's 32 kids. And then Mr. Lake came in today to talk to Sean Smith's 60s and 70s class.
Okay.
So they talked about the Vietnam War and his experiences, so that was good. Student Council 9 through 12, they have been selling candygrams during lunches, and then they have an elf auction on Wednesday. Not really sure what that is, so we'll see how that goes. They raise money for local organizations, and then Thursday afternoon they have lots of activities planned from 1:20 till the end of the day. That they have different stations that kids are gonna go and do different things. So I think that's it.
I certainly appreciated all of the flexibility that people offered for the power outages last week as well, and I appreciate everyone's efforts in opening up the school over the weekend to help the community. I think that was a fantastic decision, and I'm not sure who was a part of that, but I appreciate everyone's work on that.
One other thing too, we had our elementary Christmas program, K through 3 program, and that was a really good turnout. We actually filled the auditorium up twice in the whole shift, so it was pretty cool. Mrs. Swanson did really well. It was her first year doing that, so she did a phenomenal job, and with the support of a lot of our extra staff as well, and it was really good.
Great, thank you. Okay, superintendent's report.
Yeah, I'll address a little bit on the weather last week. And I shared with the board in the write-up, but really the Friday decision was a tough one. You know, I knew roads were still not in the best, but it didn't make a lot of sense to try and do another e-learning day, just based on the fact that many kids didn't have power. And it really came down to is having the building open and having, you know, I knew most of our staff was gonna be able to make it in. I think all our staff did make it in, with the exception maybe 1 or 2 who were still snowed in, but just the idea of giving kids and families a place to send their children if they're out of power and it was cold, they had a warm place to be. We were able to, high school, if they didn't get a breakfast, they came up with stuff. I think the elementary probably did the same thing, but got a hot meal, and goal was hopefully by the end of the day, they had power back on. You know, we didn't get down all the roads with buses. Drivers told me some parents met them, you know, they were able to get out with whatever machine they had, got them to the buses, and we had a lot of kids gone Friday. It was a place for a whole bunch of other kids to be for the day, and heard from a few parents who really appreciated that as well. So maybe one of the, I don't want to say crazy, because it seems every time I say something we do is crazy, then something comes along and says, well, yeah, well, let's take a look at this, see what do you think about that. But our staff was more than worked with kids as far as, you know, the remote learning the 2 days and just being back in school and being there, and our drivers and I really thought I'd hear from the drivers on Friday, and I didn't hear anything but positive, and that they're happy with kids that they were able to get and pick up. They were happy to see them, and it was good to make that connection. So really positive from the staff and from parents that have talked to me about it. So I do, it's not always going to happen. I understand the challenges with last minute notices on changes in schedules and school, no school. So, I'm going to try to continue to do that at night. I can't guarantee it because things change rapidly. And the problem with doing things the night before is weather doesn't always hold true. So we may have a day where it looks like it's going to be a perfect day for a snow day or an e-learning day. And turns out where we get 2 flakes of snow, which would be good. Right now, it would be good if that's what happened, I guess. But that's a drawback with trying to announce the night before. Sometimes you get burned on that. And if I remember my very first snow day I called, that's what happened. I'm going to be smarter than every other superintendent, and I'm going to call this the night before. And I think Aiken was the only school north of St. Cloud that wasn't in school that day. And I remember getting up in the morning, looking out and just begging for snow. Anyway, I think I'll do my best to try and make that call as early as possible. And I do visit with Michelle in the bus garage, and she contacts drivers who live various parts. This time around I was in contact with Sheriff Gaida, giving me rundowns and updates, and a number of people around the district, reach out. So but it is, if it's a process, but it's something that it do put some time into it. So, but I think things worked out well this last week, and thanks to the parents and families for being understanding and flexible, and thanks to the staff and everybody else too for making it work. So.
Yeah, question on that.
Yeah.
So on Wednesday, obviously, we don't know the first day that we're e-learning day.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what the weather's going to bring, and which is great call there,
Yeah.
But as for Thursday, when our district is, we struggle with some having internet, and then secondly, we know large portion of our county is out of power. Why is potentially Thursday not just a snow day, and we continue to consider it as an e-learning day versus just a snow day and say, That's what it is, because I can't assume, can't think a lot of people had the option to.
And if we would have, if the decision would have been not to come to school on Friday, it would have been just a snow day. For that very same reason, I didn't think it made sense to try and do another e-learning day when so many of our families didn't have power. I guess when I decided to do an e-learning day on Wednesday night for Thursday, the power, not as many people were without power, so, but yeah, Thursday it was just kind of frustrating. I understand some parents probably were too, because now you're expecting our kids to do e-learning. That's why I talk about the flexibility of parents, or staff. I think our staff were understanding that some kids just didn't have power from Thursday at morning on, or maybe Thursday at noon on, or whatever. So if we wouldn't have had school on Friday, it would have just been a snow day, which we'd have made up. But that's why I went back and forth between that and deciding, can half our kids, 60% of our kids get here? It's a good place for them to be if they can, and we did leave it up to parents. If you don't want to send your kid because of weather, or you can't because you got a mile of, 6-foot snowdrifts, you're going to be excused for that. So yeah, you're right. We could have, when I made the call on, for Thursday, I guess I wasn't aware. I don't know if power was failing already by, Wednesday night when I made that call or not. But yeah, if we wouldn't have been here Friday, it would have been just a snow day, and would have been figuring out when to make it up. So good point.
Yeah, every situation's gonna be a little
Yeah.
bit different, and you just kind of keep learning, right? as
Now
you
you're
go.
40 below wind chills later this week. It's like,
40, I heard 40 plus mile an hour winds.
Yeah,
40 miles, yeah.
well, maybe that's what I heard.
Yeah,
Which could end up, there's a
Doing-
lot of
doing the
trees that
same,
are
yeah.
So
hanging and-
at Rochester, I heard like 65 plus mile an hour winds on Friday.
that's why I didn't say this might be the craziest thing we've had, because we're a couple days away from me potentially.
It was the biggest outage in the last.
Yeah,
electric
yeah, that's
that
it.
we had.
So
I will say, I think that you made a good call on Friday, because there were so many families that were without power, that at least if their children could come to school, it was warm here. If you don't have power, you don't have heat.
right.
And you don't have water. And we forget about, our folks who live out of the city limits, they have wells. If you don't have power, you're not gonna pump water into your house. And so I think because of that, it was a good decision.
Okay,
All right, back onto my agenda here. Attendance, we're down 7 from November. We're at 996. No real trend there, just a couple kids here and there, a couple kids, I think, in the upper grades who are looking at alternative school for a variety of reasons, but just a couple kids on this grade or that grade, and again, no real trend as to why or where that happened. Last year, we kind of held steady from November to December, so I don't know, if they're, so. Curriculum review update, we did meet,
Dan,
oh, yep.
Can I ask a question? How many kids are enrolled at the alternative school right now, do you know?
Can you give me we have a 20, 20,
Off the
22?
top of my head, I don't know. I know I have about 11 full-time students, and then there's lots of credit recovery.
And so you have two things going on in our alt school. One is kids are there full-time doing that's where they're getting education, or that's where they're getting their schooling. And then we have some other kids who are students here who are picking up a credit recovery. And that's the number that's probably more flexible, or changes based on what kids are getting done, so.
okay,
We got 6 more on ripples. I'm starting after the break. I got paperwork today.
great.
Good deal.
Curriculum review?
Yep, we did have an SEL group meeting the end of November. Talked about a variety of things, kind of went around and, how do we, and there's probably not a great answer for it, but how do we determine if what we're doing is working? And there's some different things we look at. We look at office referrals or office visits. We look at some counselor, updates, reports. There's not really a test or an assessment per se that we can do to determine if what we're doing is working. So that's something we'll have to come back to. And then we talked about different curriculums a little bit, and some of the hot button topics that are with SEL. So we're going to reach out, and for our next meeting, and I didn't have a date written down in my notes, so I have to go back and get that, bringing some samples of different SEL programs or curriculums, if you will. We'll bring those and split up the group probably in like a K3, a 4, 6, a 5, or a, you know, a 7, 8, just to look and see what maybe the group would like to see us do or moving forward, or if we, any of it or all of it, or how that looks. So any questions on that?
I do have maybe it's a question regarding SEL. It's a combination question. In a few weeks ago, in 1 week time period, I had 4 families reach out to me who are very concerned about their children being bullied. And so in the SEL program, I know that's part of PBIS, but in the SEL program, is bullying being addressed there? I believe it is.
Yeah,
And-
yes,
Okay. I have lots of other questions
Yeah.
about that, but now's not the time.
yep, okay. And yeah, and you know, the high school did some surveys, did a survey of students, and there are some things that the PBI, Positive Behavior Intervention team is gonna come back to, and they're gonna meet with, Lisa has set up some student groups from the various homerooms to talk about some of the results of the survey, and you know, what are some things we do, and students addressed. One of their concerns that brought up was a lack of empathy amongst themselves of you know, and students themselves in the survey basically identified that as a concern. So that's one of the areas what we're going to look at and work on, and that lack of empathy could lead right into that bullying. You know, if I can't picture myself or feel myself in that position, I might be more willing to bully than I am if I have some empathy there. So, but yeah, bullying is a challenge. All the time. It is. And
It's a serious problem
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
It's a very serious problem. One of these families, they reached out, their child was almost suicidal. They were afraid to leave their older elementary school child at home alone because this child had been bullied so badly at school, and then it left school and followed them at home. And it's happening in the high school too.
That's a challenge that, well, I think I can say safely all of us when we were in high school, if we're being bullied or picked on at school and we got home, you got a break.
ended.
You could get a break, right? Because you weren't connected so much social media. If you had one phone probably in the house, or maybe 2, but one line, you weren't, you know. So there was that little bit of disconnect kids could get, or we could get, or whatever. And now with it never ends, right? If somebody's being targeted, or that communication, it's all the time, good and bad, right? In this case, it's bad, and oftentimes it starts with a social media thing that comes to school, or something happens in school and it carries over to social media and it blows up. So,
Well, and
Yeah.
I think the things that we were bullied over when we were kids were a lot different than the things that kids are being bullied over today. And it's just a whole different ballgame. I mean, it just is. The culture in the world is a different place. And so we are gonna have to address it and deal with it.
all right, and I had concerts been moved to Wednesday night. I know that's not an ideal night because of church activities and things, but to try and have our Christmas concert, the winter Christmas concert before Christmas, that was the one night that was open. So hopefully it works out and people can still get there, and looking forward to a good concert. So
Good. Okay, upcoming meetings, December 21st, the Personnel Committee meeting, and I think that was just rescheduled, right?
yeah, we didn't have
So
anything for
that
the
one
meeting
is
this week,
not
so we'll reschedule that.
happening. And then January 9th is the regular school board meeting at 6:30 here at the high school media center. And I think the plan is to do another 6 o'clock meeting for the community to come
Yep.
forward. I think we have held those a couple of meetings now. We have not really had anyone attend, so the new board will have to just kind of think about that going forward, but we will have it scheduled for 6 o'clock, once again on January 9th, to start 30 minutes prior to the regular meeting. Mr. Jansen?
Do they have to, new board members take that oath at that first meeting?
Yeah.
6:30, so that 6 o'clock meeting might not?
The official oath has already been done when they turn
Okay.
in their paperwork, so
Got
it's
it.
already been signed. There is a,
Okay, you don't,
there is
okay.
a ceremonial oath.
Got
at the
it.
meeting that we'll
Got
do,
it. I
so-
couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right, well, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a
I just want to thank outgoing board members. Thank you very much. I do appreciate your time and efforts, and I'm sure I'll see most of you around. You're not like you're going anywhere other than you won't be at these meetings, so maybe you will. So, but thank you guys.
I'd like to take the time and wish all of you a very, very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year from a cold and windy Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Hey, same to you, Noel.
Thanks, Noel.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Hove.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Jansen. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Look at those smiles on them.
Yeah, look at those